Can y'all hear me? Okay, cool. For some reason, my music is loud. Word for myself. Not good. Hopefully, you guys can still hear the music on your guys' end. If not, let me know. Little loud on my end, so I have to get this going. What's going on, Sean Dog? Thank you. I saw you sub today. Thank you for that. Thank you for enjoying the videos. Yeah, Genie Patron Warlock is probably my favorite Warlock thematically out of entire out of the entire Warlock subclass list. So I'm glad you enjoyed that video. We're gonna get started. Ooh, let me get this stuff into frame. Sorry about. Yeah, what up, David? I am eating dinner as I'm doing this. So I have homemade chicken nuggets. Well, in between this design work, I'm gonna be grubbing. So if you hear this munching, you know what's up. All right, so there wasn't a lot of D&D news this week. They presented a new DM screen. So that was like the only thing they showed off was a new Dungeon Master screen that has some new art on it, but it's probably gonna have the same thing stuff on the back like we've seen before. The only cool thing was coming with like these flashcards that you can like put together to create your own like custom dungeon, which was pretty cool. But other than that, no real like D&D news. I think the biggest event happening for D&D this week was Critical Role's Campaign 2 ending, which was like a 7-hour bender. I got through like 5 hours of it, and then I needed to pass out and go. I couldn't stay up. I needed to go pass out to go to work. As much as I saw it, I'll catch the rest of it. It was a good ending to wrap up the what they have left for it, from what I saw. I'm looking forward to campaign 3. Hopefully, I can actually jump in on it and actually watch it. Just Critical Role is one of those things you have to dedicate a lot of time to watching it, and if you fall behind, falling behind just off of missing one episode. So, other than that, did anybody catch Critical Role campaign 2? Not sure. 7 hours. I don't blame anybody who's gonna get it in bits. Back on my chicken nugget. All right. I want to jump into the Dread Knight some more tonight. Thing with this Dread Knight, I didn't get to really work on it exactly like I wanted to this week. We're starting back post-COVID hours. We're kind of getting back into normalcy at work. So I'm going full-time. So you might see some, not necessarily slow down on content. I'm still going to be doing weekly stuff. I managed to kind of get on the ball and make sure that I am able to produce content. But you're probably not going to see too much extra content. I will say that. So I didn't actually get to work too much on this. I did get through most of the script for something coming, another video coming out in a couple weeks. But I did get some ideas down and nailed down a couple things, and I actually wanted to forgot to write one down, so I'll go over with you guys what I'm gonna doing. For those that didn't catch it last week, the Dread Knight is the variation of my first real attempt at doing a subclass. So the first one that we developed as on stream was a Death Knight. So it started off as a Death Knight, and it pretty much was a kit bash of the. See if I can scroll up. It was general a kit bash of the Fathomless Warlock and the Echo Knight Fighter. People generally liked it, but it got some good feedback. And in general, while people kind of liked the direction, it just didn't feel like a Death Knight, and it didn't do or reinforce the fighter's class fantasy. the fighter's general role. And because of this, I wanted to pivot and actually do something that reinforces what the fighter's supposed to do, and get away from the whole Death Knight thing. So I'm not necessarily tied to D&D lore. So that's was the general consensus. The class fantasy I wanted to do was the dark powered warrior, that dark powered fighter. We can do that already in 5th edition with like Hexblade Warlock. Depending on how you reflavor some paladin subclasses, you can kind of do that, but there isn't really anything under the fighter that allows you to play this kind of fantasy. So that's why I was developing a Dread Knight. So what I'm attempting to do is a sort of tanky melee control combatant that is mainly about controlling the area around the character, or around the fighter itself. So I think I figured out the first feature and actually gave it a name. So we're going for the first 3rd level utility feature, which would be Dreadful Presence. So I take the name from the previous thing, and so what this will give you, as you can see, it'll give you Intimidation and proficiency with Intimidation if you don't have it, and then it will give you, as a bonus action, you frighten a creature. You roll your Intimidation versus their Insight, and if they fail, they're frightened of you they succumb to the frightened condition for X amount of time. General, I'm thinking just for a minute, and then, but if they succeed, they can't be frightened of you 24 hours. The reason I put X amount of time because necessarily balance issues, but general idea with this is to give you a flexible utility feature that you can use in or out of combat. And I wanted to somehow give Frighten and sneak that in to this subclass without necessarily being at the main focus, just because a lot of creatures are immune to Frighten condition. That was like the general thing. So that's what I was kind of avoiding. So still being able to do it on some level, just not the main focus. Another idea was maybe instead of doing a Frighten condition, they do like a Bane effect onto them. But I want to use this Bane effect somewhere else. So the idea for the core mechanic, I want to thank Phil, who was in here last week. I want to thank also Rich. Phil Kearney is a designer, and then Rich Mary, he is a content creator, because Rich shared with me his something he's working on as a subclass for his patron, and wanted some feedback. But then we started talking, and then he did spark the creativity of mentioning Bardic Inspiration, and things just started to click. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, I wanted to do something different. In reality, this ability, as we're going back really quick to Dreadful Presence for a quick second, this is actually I believe it's the Menacing feat that didn't make it in a print from Unearthed Arcana. So I looked at it around and saw that, and I was like, well, we're gonna kind of have a boost up feature that actually makes sense for this subclass. Anyway, back to the core mechanic. So the first idea was Mark of Doom. Talking to Rich, he mentioned Bardic Inspiration, and it clicked a bunch of gears in my head, and it made me think, instead of doing a mark and doing like the typical disadvantage, one idea was pretty much reverse Bardic Inspiration. So as a fighter, make it tied to an attack. So the first successful attack on a target, or maybe the first successful attack on that turn, you pretty much give them a reverse Bardic Inspiration. You give them a Bane type effect, and when the next time they were to roll an attack or saving throw, they have to roll the die and subtract the result. So that was my initial thinking. That'd be like the core mechanic of this subclass. But the thing is, I really like this idea too of not necessarily disadvantage, but the idea of like getting maybe temp HP, or limiting their speed in half, as they are feared. So one idea was, and then instead of calling a Doom or Dread die, as what Phil Kearney mentioned last time, was to maybe call it a Fear die, but it pretty much kind of a basis of that. But maybe an idea that kind of mixes both of them. So Fear Die 2.0 or version 2, we'll do that. And the general idea was to do formatting sucks. Okay. Okay. Version 2, Fear Die. So maybe have it start off as a, what I'm thinking, start off as a 1d4 like Bane. It only gets to target one creature based off the attack. Or this version, actually, never mind. It was a pool of resources. Yeah, what's going on, Devil Man? Thank you for stopping by. Actually, I had two versions of it. So it was a pool resource. You only have X amount of fear die for long or short rests, and you roll it in addition to your attack. So on top of the attack, you add damage, but then the number rolled on that die, which would start off as D4, is subtracted to on their next attack or saving throw. Roll fear die, add result to damage. Fear die result subtracts from the target next attack or saving throw. So that was one idea. And that would give you kind of like extra damage. That's like the idea that I thought. And that in general extra damage excites people, but it also kind of gives this fear effect. The general idea I was thinking was you're beating fear into them. But that's kind of what that is. So that's one idea. That was 2.0. And then, or the second version, the third version, Fear Die 3, version 3, or option 3, was again, we start off as a Fear Die, starts off as a 1d4. Instead of it being a pooled resource, it would kind of blend the idea of the Mark of Doom with the Fear Die, where Bane, a single target gets Bane, and then in addition, they get baned X HP based on the die rolled, and then maybe have their movement cut in half. What's going on, Zandy? Thank you for stopping by. But yeah, the only thing about this is that movement cut in half. I think that it adds a little too much on top of being that creature being Bane and then you getting temp HP. But yeah, that's pretty much general. I think these ideas are more exciting than just having a mark. I think just having like a basic mark that kind of just does things and you kind of have to remember it. It kind of touches on the what is it? The Cavalier, I think it was. Roll up. I think I have the Cavaliers feature. Yeah, Cavaliers mark. Here we go. Yeah, Cavaliers and waving mark, where you put a mark on them. They had disadvantage on any attack roll you make, and then there's additional riders. I think it plays too much into that. We've kind of already seen it before. It's not a bad ability. It's just kind of seen it. So I'm trying to also get a mechanic that would excite me. That's a little bit more straightforward. That still plays into this idea of fear. I don't know which one you guys like more. Let me know. But I'm liking this idea of playing with some sort of fear die that does a reverse bardic inspiration that triggers off an attack. So I think the one in general people would be the one that adds like extra damage. I think we take this movement idea, maybe move it somewhere else. Life. So that's, or temp HP. So it baned, but I like this idea of reverse bardic inspiration off an attack. So I'm thinking for this mechanic, that's what we're gonna like stick with. Well, also mean, while I pop a chicken nugget in my mouth. Maybe at level 7, we can create some sort of movement effect, and this will be like your other bread and butter, like a signature ability. One that's based on maybe the like anti-movement that you get later on. Cut movement in half. I don't necessarily know how. I'm wondering if this should have some like pull effect, or like a pull effect where you're pulling them back towards you. That would kind of get it more centered towards like a melee combatant, because I'm also trying to keep in mind and considering like if somebody were to want to play this as a range. I don't know how much a pull tactic would be. Because the general idea I'm feeling is like maybe something like the idea is like no escape. And like kind of channeling like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, he kind of has that the line with the spear hit at the end and pulls enemies back. But that's what I'm trying to think. But I think a movement ability. I know I have like some action surge based effects. I'm not necessarily sure I want to play with those ideas anymore. And originally too, this Bane idea as an AoE effect was happening until I realized it would actually make a good core mechanic. Oh, one thing I'm keeping in mind is to make sure that this is somewhat a viable. So you guys got ideas? Take a drink. Out. There's a big thing as I'm like looking through fighter subclasses. The higher end features tend to not necessarily give you like too much a power boost, right? So they boost up some of the mechanics, kind of give you some flavor, but your core mechanics are going to be drawn to your level 3 and your level 7, with 10, 15, and 18 kind of like filtering out and kind of buffing those. I'm buffing the main fighter itself. So there's some other ideas I had, as maybe like spreading dread or spreading fear to nearby enemies after the death of a marked target. Maybe we can still play with that mark effect. I'm just not necessarily sure how I would implement it. And maybe that can be incorporated into the 7th level feature. Maybe have it like expend a fear die, right? Maybe this can be like our attack. We can expend a fear die. The target that's hit by it gets their movement cut in half. Maybe if they were to die by the end of that turn, creatures around it had to make saves. I don't know. It's like that person's death scares people. What do you guys think of that one? I'm not sure. I think that's a lot on a ability to kind of like track. like a second fear die use. Extra damage. F. A die. They drop to 0. At the end of by the beginning of your next turn. That's a lot of tracking. I don't know. If they drop to 0 by the beginning of your next turn. Enemy creatures 5 feet, 10 feet surrounding the creature must make a save or become frightened. I think that's a lot, honestly. Yeah, kind of a lot. I'm not necessarily sure how good that is. What do you guys think so far? Does that feel like too strong, or is that actually exciting and maybe something we can actually like peel back? I like the idea of like making this resource mechanic on the fear die. I don't necessarily sure how we would fuel it. That's one thing. Or how many we would get. I'm probably gonna look at the Battlemaster fighter and see how they kind of like their charges on their fear die or on their maneuver die. Maybe kind of look at it like that. But I'm like, it's starting to come together. That's what I feel like. We're gonna have like mob boost. I think this is where we get like fear die size goes up. Get something like that. So maybe from a D4 or D6 to like the next size up, like it would be a D8. 2, 6, depending on what it was. Because if we do this fear mechanic, I like that Bane effect. I'm not sure necessarily if it should be a 6. Like a 4 is fine. That's balance. But I think later, like in later levels, having it like you go with D6, not too strong. 8. And maybe like the 15th level feature. I should pull up fighters stuff. Let's see. Then a side right here. Check while I pull up Roll20 and look at my let's take a look at like other fighter subclasses. Kind of see the general vibe that we get at the later level, so we kind of know roughly the playability of stuff. For me, that always helps kind of like compare contrast, like what we're trying to look at. And I want to reiterate, by any means, I'm no expert on any sort of design. I think just kind of looking at other official printed stuff kind of gives you like the range you kind of want to be at. Oh, okay, we're gonna look at Knight, Fly Warrior. Then I want to look at Battlemaster Fighter. That's kind of like not necessarily where I want this guy to sit, but at least kind of see what. So Battlemaster. Side warrior. And we're gonna move these off. Just so you can see. Master. We just need to see like the features. Obviously, third level. Well, the way it looks is like we get your superiority die, which is the core mechanic, right? Level 3, you get a utility feature. At level 7, they get another kind of ability. I think with this one, they went with feature that kind of just lets you see. Starting at level 7, you spend at least 1 minute observing and interacting with another creature outside combat. You can learn certain information. So it's like data reading of an enemy to kind of like figure out basic information that you can use in combat later. It's funny thing is like it's meta information. So like it is on the player to kind of figure out how to interpret this in the game. The way I kind of have to look at it, but it is like it's giving the player meta information. Not necessarily bad, but yeah, and see, level 10 is like a basic upgrade to certain features. Again, basic upgrade to certain features, very small. So level 10 to level 15 upgrades are like small upgrades. But then let's see. Okay, they do maneuvers, and they didn't give a level 18 this guy. And then let's look at the Rune Knight. So they get additional stuff at level 7, right? Okay. But then they have the thing about the Rune Knight, they have like 2 main mechanics at level 3, so they're a little bit buffed. Right? They have the runes, and then they have their giant growth. So we're not really gonna do that with this guy. But at level 7, they get this protective shield, which was pretty cool. This has like 3 bread and butter abilities. That's what I would consider it. But level 10, they get a buff. Small buff. Their giant might increases, and then the flavorful, like they grow a little bit taller. A level 15 with like another like little fun buff, and then their level 18 ability is you learn how to amplify your rune type. As a result, the extra damage you deal with giants might increases. So their giants might increases again, another smaller buff. Comes to their damage. And then they get to grow huge. So what we're looking at is like small buffs. And let's see, we get a bunch of utility, more utility. Defensive buff to them. I'm liking this. Moreover, if you start your turn charmed or frightened, you can expend a psionic die and end effect on your turn. We can maybe play with something like this. Like if this fighter starts their turn frightened, the Dread Knight starts their turn frightened, they can end it, not necessarily nah, but I don't know if I would want to use and copy this like, oh, you use psionic energy die, but then also give them maybe advantage to against being frightened. Another avenue to take. But level 10, do something like that. So I don't want to go all in on just like our die just fuels every ability. That's not what I want to do with, because we kind of want this the die to be fueled to help hit people and also put negatives onto your enemy. So put in fear. Yeah, okay. All right, so that's kind of what we're seeing. So we're seeing small boost utility, small boost utility. So that means a lot of the fighters, essentially, a lot of the fighters' abilities are actually for any subclass or anybody wanting to play fighter, means it's going to be reliant on the fighter kit. From what I'm looking at, comparing to um all these three subclasses. Heck. This is the general thing I'm looking at, a small boost. Yeah, so what that means, we need to nail down which fear mechanic. So I want to know, you guys can vote in the chat. Pretty much, I'm settling on a fear die mechanic, but we're gonna go. Version 1 is just like reverse bardic inspiration. Boom. This reverse bardic inspiration will start off as a d6, and that's all it is. So, version 1, what do you guys think? Version 1 is whenever you attack the target you hit with a successful attack on their next attack or saving throw, they have to roll a d6. And that's all it's going to do. That's version 1. Version 2 is it's an extra damage option, so we're going to start with a d4 instead. You roll, whenever you roll on one attack, you can spend a fear die. You add whatever rolled to your attack, but then whatever result was rolled on that d4, they have to subtract that, subtract the result from their next attack or attack roll saving throw. So that's option 2. And then fear die option 3 is almost identical to the extra damage option, but instead, you gain temp HP instead of doing the extra damage. So 1, 2, or 3, put it in the chat. I need to. What excites you guys more? Me, I think it's kind of obvious. The extra damage option, I think, is going to be the one people are more geared towards. I want to know if you guys see that and be like, oh, it's on the fighter. I want to play this. If this even excites you. Eating. Please. Version 2, the damage one. I'm thinking that too. I don't think anybody's like gonna turn down damage, extra damage. I would love to somehow include the temp HP idea. I don't know. I generally don't know how to include that, and like to just throw that on top is like too much. So let's kind of move version 2. Bolded. Got 2 version 2s. Hitting up. And this actually came out pretty good. Only thing I'm wondering if it doesn't do it. Like, I don't know. It feels like it's kind of missing something. So there isn't really anything like necessarily. I don't know if we can add more. What I'm gonna do is do that. I don't know what to call it. Beaten into fear. Beat the fear into them. Beat. This is just the code word, but it's not the actual name. Them. Um, Successful. Weapon attack. Spend or die. Well, I think it's expend. Expend a fear die. Roll. I'll look at the language later. Roll fear die and add roll damage roll. Rolled subtracted from the target. Next attack roll or saving throw. Attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Do that just in case. That I like this Bane effect because it does something different than what the other tank abilities do. And most tank abilities in 5th edition do this disadvantage against attacks against anyone other than you. While that works as a tank mechanically, in terms of flavor of this character, it makes no sense why, if you were to strike them and that effect happens, why they wouldn't have that same disadvantage against you either. Because you're the whole idea of this is obviously they're afraid of you, and if they're afraid of you, they should be afraid of everybody else. But also, I didn't want to rely on the frighten mechanic, so thinking this one is the way to go. Need a name for this. But I don't know. I'm gonna say it's maybe missing something else. Something else. I can maybe come back to that later. So trinkets. Don't need this more. Front. Drink this. Not really gonna be right now. Okay, so now we need 7th level features. Let's go step away from this one. Let's look at our 7th level. So we need another bread and butter ability. And I think what we need is maybe some sort of area control. I wanted to say centered on the fighter, but that does put it on the put this subclass in like more of a melee tank. And obviously I'm still trying to consider a ranged attacker. And so even then keeping a what am I keeping in mind? Also dual wielding and then a 2-weapon handed and sword and boards, or melee and a shield. Just trying to keep all the playstyles like viable with subclass. Oh. I like the idea of having like another use to expend the fear die. Like at a later, like you get at level 7, and here's your other bread and butter ability you could. What was the idea? Maybe see, the other idea was to add the fear die again to do extra damage. So we're gonna like do that again. We cut the target's movement in half, and then they drop to 0. That was the idea taken from like spreading fear. No escape. No escape or spread fear. Trying to think what other things we can do with this. Other idea. We're thinking of toying with like the action surge abilities or the or even second wind. Last time, I'm not sure now with kind of like what I'm doing here may fit in with that, especially now that we're not really going to go with a temp HP. So let me shrink these. I don't want to go with the Bane option either because that's what's going to be like our first version of the die. Gonna go with then excuse me. Oh, sorry. That's what our first version is gonna die with. I don't really want to do it. Well, oh, this was gonna spend it die. Spend a die, cut it in half. Cuts the target's movement in half. If they drop to 0, this is like the. We'll call this one the spread fear. Spread fear version. Only thing is like, I don't know. It requires upkeep to kind of like remember this is going on, right? So that, then let me red fear, and then what I want to do is no escape version. And second fear die use. Maybe. And it's gonna cut the target's movement in half. Hey, what's going on, Scale? Hey, what's going on, Philip D? Thank you guys for dropping in. We are continued working on the Dread Knight. So I don't know if you guys missed it last week. We changed the Death Knight, and it is now being converted to a Dread Knight. Still getting that sense of dark powered warrior, but instead of playing up the idea of necromancy and being not tied to the dark power. And again, thank you, Philip D, for dropping the $5 donation. Thank you. The idea was to instead of move it into a fear based, you still get that dark powered healing and make it more pliable to other settings. I'm just trying to. We have this fear die mechanic, but I'm trying to see if maybe we can get that dark power feeling. I might take a look back at this other feature and maybe somehow incorporate a temp HP into this, like we're taking the oh, but yeah, second, so no escape. So we're gonna move back into this one. Okay, so we're gonna go no escape. Another second fear use. Again, to add the fear die, add extra damage. Add the extra damage to attack. Target's movement is half, but instead of trying to fear everybody around you, and maybe that's kind of the problem is like we're trying to fear too many things and still leaning too hard on that maybe at this point we could can do something a little different with it. the Snow Escape version, maybe creatures, hostile creatures, within maybe this 10. I think that's too much. 30-foot range. Let's make a saving throw. If they fail, they are pulled towards the target. Maybe something like that. Another idea, feasting on fear. Like we're feasting on fear. I want to do something with like this person's consume. I think these other two abilities really nailed down the fear angle. I think we need to also kind of reincorporate the dark angle. I think relying too much on like the setting fear is only like it's gonna hinder us. Maybe. Trying to figure out what to do. And if you guys got suggestions, all ears. On fear, what can we do this? I want this to do something with temp HP. Maybe it doesn't have to use the fear die. Doesn't necessarily need the fear die. Not necessarily sure if it's going to be like an AoE effect or single target effect. Maybe it does cut like movement in half. I think if it does like a bunch of this stuff, it should be on a cooldown, and maybe that's why it doesn't need to use the fear die. Or it does expend a fear die to kind of like um so I'm really thinking cut movement in half. Cut target's movement in half. Maybe this isn't part of an attack. This can be a bonus action. Bonus action ability. Bonus action. No. Okay, hear me out on this one. Maybe this is a reaction. Okay. Yeah, if we had, that's what I'm thinking, because I'm feasting on fear. I'm liking this more than the other things that we're doing, and I actually really like that suggestion scale. Here's my initial thought in my head. I need to write it down. Reaction. Whenever a creature within. What's going on, Philip? Philip D with a $10 dono. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Off topic. I know, but what is your favorite common item? Common item, as in magic item or like regular item? If it's a regular item, it's going to be thieves' tools. I actually rogues are probably one of my favorite classes to play. But yeah, thieves' tools is super handy. That's why I also like artificers, because they allow you to use tools in a way and play with the play 5th edition in a different way instead of relying on magic all the time. You have a set of tools, and it makes a character that might be seen as mundane to actually give them some flavor and ability and to lean into. So yeah, I would say thieves' tools. A magic item. Ooh, a common magic item. Trying to think. I'd have to think common magic item. I was gonna say my group. I swear, in every game we play, it's always you always have a bag of holding. Not necessarily my favorite, just because like it does take away from the game a bit. It makes things easier by like any means, but yeah, for non-magic, that is exactly what it is. It's thieves' tools. Let me think. I have to look. Common magic. Part of me want to say like the common magic items are the ones that were in, what's it called? Were in Xanathars, right? Some of the stuff you're referring to, because those were like a lot of the common magic items. Shift weed. Yeah, a lot of this was okay. I'm trying to think. I think what I want to say. I think. Hold on. It was the dice. I want to say cheaters dice from Xanathars. I want to, if they're common, they should be a common magic item. Yeah, it was the cheating dice from Xanathars, I think. It should be a common magic item. I like it because, one, I did give it to one of my party members when I ran a family campaign. Actually, David and Jackie, you guys are in here. I did give it to, when I was running a game, I gave it to them. But also I have like a wizard a wizard character idea based around being a charlatan using their wizard abilities to cheat, and there would be a divination wizard playing solo thing. But my thing I wanted to bring up to the DM is like, can I have cheaters dice with that character? Because it would just fit with them. But yeah, cheaters dice. You can, if you can scam people, make a lot of money. Other than that, in terms of just like not funny common items, the spell tattoos from Tasha's. There's some you can get for common, and they do a lot of cool stuff. I haven't put them into playing any games I've played, and I'm tempted now that I brought this up to maybe add this into my Avernus game and have that option there. Yeah. So yeah, those would be the 2 magic items. Okay, reaction fear. Whenever a creature within X range, range of you dies or drops to 0. Dang, Philip D again with a $25 donation. Thank you, bro. Too much. My DM said we could start with a common magic item. I struggle to find much better than healing potion. Common magic items are actually quite uncommon, so I'm super what people. I'd also maybe look at if you're not looking for like a single use item, like cheater dice is the best because there isn't. They don't do a lot too much. I want to say War Mage if you're gonna play like a melee caster. I'm not. Let me double check and make sure that is a common magic item. Yeah. So if you're gonna play like a melee spellcaster, maybe melee spellcaster or Gish, Ruby of the War Mage. You put that onto your weapon, and it gives you you can use your weapon as a spellcasting focus. So that will help get around most material components. This is like super important for like Eldritch Knights and stuff and Hexblade. So I would consider that if you're gonna go that route. That's probably like a really good combat magic item. Other than that, spell tattoos and spell scrolls are kind of one shot. So really depends on what you're wanting to build. Okay, I'm gonna go to this. Go back to this. Whenever a creature with an X range of you drops to 0, creatures creatures within X feet around them must make a saving throw or whenever a creature within X range of you drops to 0, creatures within X feet around of them. That creature. No problem, man. Thanks. Always like when you stop by and always coming here and showing support and always asking really good questions. Don't worry about distraction. Whenever a creature with an X range of you, creatures with an X of feet of that creature let's make a wisdom saving throw. Throw. I don't necessarily want to give them frightened. If they fail, their movement cut in half, and this is necessarily feasting on fear. This is spread fear. Maybe this is spread fear 2.0. Yeah, we'll put spread fear 2. And then I'm gonna look at scales suggestion a little. Oh, yeah, that's why I'm kind of play with it. 30 feet seems right, but it's actually kind of a lot depending on how this ability would like manage. But I did like scales suggestion, so there's gonna be I have another like consuming fear idea based off his. kind of like lightning rotted. Whenever a creature with an X range of you drops to 0, creatures with an X feet of that creature must make a Wisdom saving throw. If they fail, their movement is cut in half, and they have advantage on attack rolls. Till the start of your next turn. Once per short long rest. I like this one because it doesn't rely on the fear die. But I still want something like so we're gonna do this. We're gonna do it was consuming fear. Consuming fear. I want to do. Oh, now it wants to do that. The heck? Consuming fear was gonna be like a reaction again when a creature goes down. Ever a creature within X range of you drops 0, you may spend a hostile creature. We don't want this like to trigger off of like your own buddies. We want this to trigger off an enemy. An X range of you drops to 0. Creatures within X of feet of that creature must make a Wisdom saving throw. If they fail, their movement is cut in half. So this one, we're going to consume fear. Reaction: whenever a hostile creature within X range of you drops to 0, you may spend a fear die. Fear die. Okay, I'm gonna kind of split this up. Creatures within X feet of the dead creature. Creatures with that X feet of the dead creature must make a Wisdom saving throw again. There's gonna be 2 like X feet of dead creature. Take damage. Oh, that's a good idea too. That's something to consider, that they're only can take, like, can't take any, like, it's the slowed effect, right? They can only take an action. They can't take a bonus action or reactions. They're instilled with fear. That's another thing we can look at. I think that would be like a higher level ability. So, like, removing like an action like that is really, really strong. Creature with an X feet of the dead creature take damage equal to. That'd be something like I'd want to I would want that to go off of the save or to do something like that. An X feet of the dead creature take damage equal to the fear die. So fear die. Creatures within X feet of the dead creature must make a Wisdom saving throw. If they fail, then this is where they have their movement cut in half. And instead of disadvantage on this one, gain temp HP equal to total damage dealt. The fear die. And then the only way we can limit that is limit the amount of targets we can select after the creature dies. the number of targets. Yeah. So yeah, would be that. That's how we limit it. I think we can limit the other one too, so it's not like every creature around it. Is even though this is a D4, right? And it's just because the way this is, it's like it's just automatic damage. Like a person drops, boom. Everybody in the X feet is gonna take a fear die. You're expending a fear die. At that point, it's only a D4. But then if they make or the save or anything, if they fail to save, you gain temp HP equal to the total amount of damage you've done. The only problem I think that does is that you kind of like. I think that's a lot of bookkeeping because you kind of have to keep track of like all the damage you dealt. Might be too bookkeeping, cool, but too bookkeeping. This one, but I'm liking this reaction. And then let me go scroll up to scales. And scales had a gain temp HP for the creatures that fail their fear roll. So I'm thinking something like that. Maybe use a reaction, positive wisdom saving throw, and then those that fail, you just get a bunch of temp HP. And then they have all these, maybe just a bunch of status effects and necessarily any damage dealt to them. So maybe fear 2 reaction. Whenever a hostile creature within X range of you drops to 0 again. Creatures within X feet of dead creature make a saving throw. Fail. If they fail, this is what happens. Movement is cut in half. So they're crippled with fear. You can't really shaking in their boots. Movement is cut in half. What was the other one? They have disadvantage on their next attack roll. Maybe something like that. I don't necessarily want to rely on that one. Can't take reactions. Like I like that idea. Can't take reactions. Can't take reactions, and maybe temp HP, like Scale said, temp HP equal to number of creatures affected plus fail to save plus proficiency bonus. I wouldn't want to do fighter level. And if we did fighter level, it maybe the temp HP maybe isn't going to hinder. Is that necessarily bad? Like, hey, thanks for stopping by, brother. Thank you. As always, thank you for supporting, brother. I will see you tomorrow for Avernus. So get ready. The temp HP equals the number of creatures that failed to save plus proficiency bonus. Or is fighter level that bad? Because think about it. Okay, if we're getting this at level 7. It's pretty much 7 HP plus many creatures you're affecting, and obviously you can't hit that many creatures, and we'll limit to how many creatures can get targeted. So yeah, maybe I think the save plus proficiency level proficiency bonus is kind of lame. HP equal to the number of creatures that failed to save plus proficiency plus fighter level. So at least it scales up later, right? Because you know, you hit level 20, you're using this, it's 20 temp HP. Creature's gonna be hitting for 20 temp HP anyway at that level, so you know, so that could be something. Maybe have this on a short rest. I think this is like much easier to manage and kind of like does the best of everything. Gives you something exciting too that's new. I really like fill up your idea, and also like scale your guys' ideas are really sweet. Like kind of being able to use both of those. Having it based off a saving throw, we would need to figure out what the save would be. The other idea, instead of using the saving throw method, it would be Intimidation Skill versus their Insight. And I'm liking this one a lot more. One, it doesn't rely on the fear die mechanic that we're using, and that's actually perfectly fine. And this will probably we'd only be able to use it once, or I know what we can do. We can steal something from the psionic fighter. We can use it once per long rest. If we want to use it again, we must expend a fear die. So it gives us another option to use our fear die. If we have it available, but we get like one for use out of it. I'm liking this one a lot more. Alternate idea for the saving throw thing, it would be our Intimidation versus their Insight. We'll just keep that there. Right. This is starting to shape up though. I'm really liking like kind of like these ideas right here. I'm gonna bold this one. I'm liking this one more than, it feels more developed and more, it feels different. And it still plays in the theme. It still plays into like that the dark thing. We get the temp HP. We get an area. Oh yeah. So that. Okay, what else can we do? Okay. So the only other thing really, I think we're kind of having like an idea of what we're gonna be doing. Third level right here. We get our utility ability. I'm loving that. And then we got core mechanic for this fear die. I'm liking this one. We're getting something that's shaping up. I'm really liking the consuming fear idea here more than the other one. Okay. So let us look at level 10 feature. Obviously, it's just going to be a flat temp HP, or excuse me, a flat boost to the fear die size. I think the safest bet, if we're going to go with the fear die doing like this bane and extra damage, I maybe need something else, but I think it's okay. This is going to be like a simple buff. Considering, yeah. Boom. Like pretty much it. Nothing too crazy. It just goes to a 1d6. Very simple, very plain. Think anything of that. I don't really know our last feature. D6. Fear die size goes up to like a 1d4 to 1d6, and maybe another like small flavorful option. One thing I'm thinking we need to include somewhere, I don't know if we should include it at level 10. Having actually not even a small flavorful option. Maybe we can include it at level 10. Advantage against frighten, against being frightened. And can end frightened effect. And they're beginning on their turn. They can end the frightened effect on their turn. The heck? Somebody's popping off fireworks. Oh, that's right. It's hopefully you guys can't hear that. There is fireworks going off right now, and it's because I'm not too far from the high school. And so it's their graduation today. Okay. And end frightened effect on their turn. Maybe do this once per long rest. Something like that. Might not necessarily call this consuming fear. I have an idea for like a level 15 feature that uses second wind. I like this idea. I believe it Indestructible Boy mentioned it last stream that I was doing when he popped in. It was about like playing in the space of using these the fighter main abilities, because you often don't see that like action surge or second wind get utilized in these in the fighter toolkits, unlike other classes where you know you're balancing out and their core features are integrated into their subclasses quite often. The fighter itself, their action surge and healing or second wind abilities, excuse me, often don't. So mainly it might have to do with these being recharged on short rest, and while these other ones are like resource abilities, so it makes a lot of sense why you don't hinder a lot, like you don't have a lot of features dependent on it. Excuse me. And it also would be because how playstyles are for parties. If parties or if tables aren't really being heavy or not utilizing short rests too often, and it's just like long rest after long rest, the features get powered down in comparison to a caster or somewhat. So that might be why. But I do agree with him on that it is space that should be explored. So I'm thinking maybe level 10, level 15 boost. Whenever second win. Whenever you use second win, temp HP from, and this is hindering on if I settle on this consuming fear 2, which I'm really liking. Whenever we use second win, temp HP gained from level 7 feature. Level 7 feature. That way. Can be converted into real HP. So that general idea is like, okay, we pretty much we've summoned their fear, and now we're gonna actually consume it whenever we use our second win. So not only do we get regular HP back, but then we would have to. I need to pull up second win though, because I think that's a lot, but it really depends on how much temp HP you have. And it's kind of bookkeeping too, I think, because you have to kind of or instead of just the temp HP gained from level 7 feature, temp HP we have can be converted into real HP. I think that's the best way to do it, simple, and not necessarily hinder on us needing to rely and keep track of like the temp HP we get from this ability. It's just any temp HP we have. So say we run out of temp HP from this ability, but then our other team members have provided us temp HP, bam, we can just convert that into that. The general idea though is to use the temp HP from this, use second wind to pretty much heal your character back on top of like the heals you get. And right, and I'm thinking maybe on the last 18 feature, I'm trying to think maybe it's something like we can use the fear die for free at least once. Or we start our turn without if we start our turn without fear die, we like okay, so like I don't know, maybe fear die at 10, fear die goes up here again. So this will bring it up from a D6 to a D8. We're here. And these things are popping off. You can hear them. I apologize. Okay, so fear die goes here. It's a little late for growth there. I think at level 18. Excuse me. Maybe I had an idea. Lost it. Trying to think. Maybe we need to look at maybe adding like a special upgrade to level 7 feature. Like a little fear die grows here. If starting a turn without fear die, gain 1. Something very simple, basic that kind of plays into it, since the fear die is going based off our attack. If you start your turn in combat without a fear die, you get 1 back, and at least at level 8. So thinking that something like that. All right, this is shaping up. I'm liking this a lot more than the other one. I don't know when I'll have like a document like I did with the like a version 1 document ready for the for this one, like I did with the Death Knight. Yeah, it's probably gonna be like another week or so before I can get something working. Tomorrow I can't do it. I'm just trying to think. I just have a lot going on this weekend, running my game on Saturday night, so I need to prep tomorrow. And then Sunday, I'm going to be finishing up next week's. Yeah. So I'm liking this. This came out. It's coming out. It's coming together. More thematic, and it kind of it's hitting notes for me. We'll see after I'm kind of like done how see what you guys think. Yeah, I might call it early. This one. So let's go over this one more time, and then yeah, I think I'm gonna call it after that. Call it a little early today, and then but before that, let's go over this one more time, and then what I will do, and then just update you guys on what to expect next week. Because I'll probably take a break from the design next week. Let this kind of marinate in my head. I'll work on it more. I'll hopefully have more time to work on it off stream to kind of clear some stuff up. But hopefully by next weekend, I'll have like a document ready. It's also because there's some other lab projects I want to start working on that I haven't had time to do. A lot of stuff I want to do. Not enough time. All right, so let's start from the top. So what do we got? We got 2 level 3 features. One is going to give you the intimidation skill. I could probably put the... Have I considered publishing a book of new subclasses? I think that would be the dream. If I felt confident in myself to get to that point, be able to, and then feel like I'm good, or just confident, not necessarily good, that I'm confident enough that I can publish something. Yeah. Also takes a lot of work and time. I think I would only really consider it if I would be doing this full time. Pretty much having a full-time job kind of cuts into it. And now that we're going back full-time because of COVID, it is cutting into some of my extra production. I had a lot of other stuff I was trying to do, can't get to. But my initial goal for this is to get a series of pretty much well-rounded, viable, not necessarily optimized. There's a conversation in Destructive Boy's Discord. Again, I'm shouting him out a lot, but I would say his Discord, and he himself has been a big influence on my approach. There's a lot of similarities on and ideas and thoughts that we share. I'm very much a novice, so like him and a lot of the designers in that Discord have been very awesome and kind of guiding me, and I share a lot of the same philosophy and approach to the game that he does. So little tangent, but I want to say thank you. I've been shouting about a lot, but in terms of like publishing something, my end goal maybe by the end of the year is have something, a collection of subclasses that are worth that out, and then eventually put them on DM's Guild for pay what you want, and put them up there. That's like my general goal, doing that, because there are some subclasses for classes that aren't in the SRD that I want to do too. So this is just one of a bunch that I want to do. Hopefully I can accomplish that by the end of the year. That's my idea. Maybe end of the year, beginning of next year, have something up on there, and to kind of say that, yeah, I did that. But we'll see. If I was able to do this full time, I would definitely like try to get something like published on my own. Or, first baby steps. I want to develop fundamentals, I would say, is what you would say, call it, fundamentals on how to design and approaching design. So, okay, so again, let's start from the top. Core features: Dreadful Presence. You gain Intimidation Skill. As a bonus action, you may frighten as a bonus action, you frighten a creature. They need to make an Intimidation Skill versus their Insight. If they fail, they're frightened for X amount of time. And if they succeed, they can't be frightened of you, but for 24 hours. Pretty much give you in or out of combat utility feature. The general idea from here. I haven't decided on the time. Okay, third level feature is our core mechanic. Right now, it's just beat fear into them. It doesn't have a name yet, but it's whenever you make a successful weapon attack, you may expend a fear die. Roll the fear die and add the result to your damage roll. The result rolled on the fear die is subtracted from the target's next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. All right, so that's the general idea. It will start off as a D4. We'll have a pool of resources for it. That pool of resources will probably recharge. I'm going to look at some of the other ones. I know where they recharge. Maybe add something else on top of that. I don't know. It's cool, but it needs some. I think it's missing spice. Exactly yet, but something small, but like. Then Level 7 feature, the one I'm eyeing, is quote unquote consuming fear. We use our reaction whenever a hostile creature within range drops to 0. Creatures within X feet of it must make a wisdom saving throw. If they fail, their movement is cut in half. They can't take any reactions. We might even reactions, bonus actions. Let's add that in there, maybe. And then we gain temp HP equal to the number of creatures that failed to save, plus our fighter level. And then only usable once per long rest, or we can expend a fear die to do it again. It's probably good. Yeah, so that's that. Other idea for the save would again use the same our intimidation versus their insight. The only problem with this that I'm seeing is that it's going to be a lot of creatures that have to make their insight, and that's a lot of rolling you don't need to do, so it's probably going to be based off a saving throw. And we can also limit the amount of creatures that are going to be affected by this ability to kind of keep it in line. Then we're going to go... Now we're going to start bolding these. I don't have a name for this one. These later features are just going to do some basic stuff. So level 10 feature will be a core feature upgrade, small boost in utility. This will make our fear die go from a D4 to a D6, and then we have advantage against being frightened, and we can end the frightened effect on our turn, and we can do this end the frightened effect once per long rest, maybe even change it to short rest. 15th level feature. Play with a second wind idea. We regain any temp HP we have at the time is converted into real HP whenever we use second wind. And then maybe a fear die upgrade or a level 7 ability upgrade, which I think is a lot better. And then level 18 is another like small little upgrade. Our fear die grows again, so we go from a D6 to a D8. And these numbers are all subject to change. Maybe it'd be better if like make that stronger. I don't know. Okay. And then the general idea is if we don't have any fear die at the beginning of our turn, we get one. And then again, that would just allow us to continuously use our mechanic. So that's it. All right. So other than that, I'm gonna keep working on this. Maybe add some flavorful stuff. I'm liking how this is coming out. It's a lot more focused, and it leans into the idea. I think it's more unique and well-rounded compared to the Death Knight. I think we're hitting that dark fear theme and dark power theme, especially with this level 7 ability. Maybe even change the trigger and play around with the trigger, like how we can do it. Maybe if we want to enact the bonus action, then we can just do it as a bonus action instead of waiting on a creature dying. Pretty much targeting your creature, bonus action, target the creature and do it. You can do with that idea. Other than that, guys, that is going to be it for today. I'm going to end it a little early. Those that haven't this week, post in those watching on. Let me know what you think of the latest video that just went up today. Here, this is a potential new series on the channel. I'm getting a lot of good reception on it, which I'm glad people are liking it. It is a series that I want to start regarding team compositions and how to use their subclass features and some spells, and how to combo off them or create team tactics that not necessarily that let you guys survive and punch above your weight, and make a bit of more cohesive team, either on a mechanical level and potentially on a flavor level. I know there's a lot of optimization and stuff talk about like when it comes to character builds and only focus on your character. The idea for this series is to do that, but take the concept of not necessarily optimization, but take the concept of building a character and do that to a team composition and how to best find ways to use their abilities in in tandem with each other. So yeah. So if you haven't seen that, please check it out. Let me know what you think on the video. Next week, again, like I mentioned a while ago, I'm going to be taking a break from design. I'm going to be jumping back into Baldur's Gate 3. Have a fun little stream there. As far as I know, I will be joined again by Spelunking Mummies, aka his actual name. From hold on, I want to say Mystery Fantasy Dungeon 3000. Dennis, aka Spelunking Mummies. I will be joined by him again. We're gonna be doing some co-op. I can wrangle in a couple other people. Maybe I can get like a 4-man squad. I don't know. We'll see. But if not, for sure, it'll be a duo. We'll be probably continuing where we left off after fighting the goblins. Again, check out the tactics video. And let me know what you guys think. You can support the channel directly here on YouTube by getting a membership, or through Patreon, Dungeoners Pack on Patreon, and pretty much all the same benefits. You get access to the videos that get posted up on Fridays a day early. Get a whole 24 hours to view them. Secret access to the in the Discord, to a private chat, access to all the character build scripts, which a bunch should be coming out soon. This whole summer I'm going to be character build heavy, so expect that. A bunch of scripts there if you want access to them. Use them as templates. And yeah, but could always support the channel. The best way to support the channel actually is just like, comment, subscribe on every video. It really helps us hit the algorithm and get those push it out to YouTube. Then you can also follow us on Dungeoners Pack YT on Facebook, Dungeoners Pack on Instagram, and DPack YT on Twitter. And if you want to continue talking about this, the videos, or just 5th edition in general, you're always welcome on the Discord, and you can find the link to the Discord, the official Generator Pack Discord, in the description below. Other than that, guys, thank you again for stopping by. I will get this up hopefully within a week, and maybe have this in a final in a testing form, and then jump back into it and fix it later. Again, thank you guys, and have a good one.